Cassie was so excited. Today was the day she was going to get to go on a field trip to the zoo. She was excited too because her mom always packed her favorite foods in her lunch bag, and she was going to take her own lunch to school today. When she got to school, the teacher said, "Now choose your partner." Cassie's best friend was Tracy, so she chose Tracy, of course. They got lined up, they got on the bus, they rode to the zoo. When they got off the bus, Mrs. Martin, the teacher, divided the class into two groups. Miss Stone, her assistant, took one group, and Ms. Martin took the other group. Ms. Martin's group went to the elephants first. Oh, Cassie said, "I can't believe it! These elephants are huge. They're so much bigger than I thought." They sat on the bench and watched the zookeeper feed the elephants. Then it was time to move on. They came to the hippopotamuses. Tracy said, "Look how fat they are." These animals look so different in real life, much different than in a book. Well, as they were ready to move on to the next cage, Cassie went, "Ah! I left my lunch. I left it on the bench back by the elephants. I've got to run back and get it." Tracy said, No, don't go back. We're supposed to stay together. I'll be right back. I'm just going to grab my lunch." And she took off. Well, Ms. Martin said, "Let's cross over the road here and go over and see these giraffes. Look how tall they are. Their necks are so long." Well, the kids were just mesmerized at how big they were and how tall they were. Tracy, for a moment, forgot all about Cassie running off. Then Miss Martin said, "Well, let's go down this side road here because I know if we go down that road, we're going to see the monkeys and the birds. I love watching the monkeys." So the class scooted off down that path and sat and watched the monkeys. They sat there for a long time. Those monkeys were so playful and fun to watch. Well, in the meantime, Cassie had grabbed her lunch and was heading back to where the group was. But the group wasn't there anymore. Cassie thought, "Oh no, I didn't tell him where I was going. But I can catch up." She really wasn't nervous or worried. So she walked a little faster, thinking she would meet the group soon. She didn't realize the group had gone off the path down a different way. Well, she walked and walked and walked, and finally she was worried. She looked around and she didn't see any of the kids from her class. So what she ended up doing was sitting down on a bench by the lion's cage and crying. She cried and cried and cried. She was so scared. She cried herself to sleep. Well, in the meantime, both groups had finished their tour of the zoo. They'd gone back to the picnic area, and they were having their lunch. Everybody was chatting about all the fun they had had, all the things that they had seen, and all the surprises that they found with all these animals. Mrs. Martin said, "Now, does everybody know where your partner is?" Tracy looked around and she said, "I don't know where Cassie is." She raised her hand. She said, "Ms. Martin, Cassie is missing." That is the greatest fear of a teacher going on a field trip, is losing a child. She went to the zookeeper and told him what happened. He said, "Don't you worry, kids wander off on zoo trips all the time. I'll radio the attendants and we'll walk around and find her." So Miss Martin told Miss Stone to watch the class while she walked around to look for Cassie as well. Finally, one of the zoo attendants said, "Here she is. She's over by the lion cage. I'll bring her to you." So they walked back to the picnic area. Cassie was still crying. When she got back, Miss Martin said, "Where have you been? We have been so worried about you." She said, "I guess I got lost." Well, Ms. Martin said, "We don't have time for you to eat your lunch right now. We've got to get back before it's time to go home on the buses." So everybody packed up their things, got on the bus, and rode back. Ms. Martin said, "When we get back to school, you can go to the back table and eat your lunch." So all the kids rushed in, pulled out their journals, and started writing about all the fun they had had that day. While Cassie sat in the back, she ate a little bit of her lunch, but she really wasn't hungry. Miss Martin went back and sat down beside her. She said, "Cassie, we have been so worried about you. I hope you have learned your lesson, that you're not going to go away from the group when you're supposed to stay with us." Cassie said, "Oh, yes, ma'am, I have definitely learned my lesson." Cassie learned a very important lesson that day. She learned that rules are made to keep you safe. And from that day on, Cassie tried very hard to follow the rules that she was supposed to follow.